Hi, and welcome at Your Guitar Workshop. In today's lesson, we're going to look into a little secret trick. Maybe not a secret trick, but it is pretty neat to enhance your blues playing. I got this thing from Robben Ford. It's he's the first one that I heard use it. Later, I also heard an example of Jimmy Herring using the same trick, although he brought it to a whole other level. But what it does is it just turns the blues sort of into something a little more special. So let me give you an example, and then we'll get into how to work that out on the guitar. Here we go. All right, so what did I do? The trick that I'm referring to is using the diminished scale or octatonic scale or one of the symmetric scales. There are two symmetric scales, so there's symmetric diminished and symmetric dominant. The symmetric diminished scale is something that we usually play over a diminished chord. And the pattern for it is just whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So like this. For the symmetric dominant scale, which you would play over a dominant chord, the pattern is just the other way around. So half step, whole step, half step, whole step. So you get this. The one we're going to be looking at is the symmetric dominant scale. Now, for those of you who are wondering, the PDF is going to be up on my Patreon page. By the way, lately, a lot of patrons have been signing up, and it's really making a difference. So thank you so much for your support. So how I like to approach that symmetric dominant scale is to think it from the chord first. So the first thing that you want to do is to have your dominant arpeggio. So for G, that would be root in third position of E string. Then you play your third, which is B. Then you play D, which is your fifth. F, which is your seventh. Root. Then B, third. D, fifth. Then F, seventh, minor seventh, and then root again. Like that. Now what I want you to do is to play lead notes towards your third, fifth, and minor seventh. So this was root, third, fifth, seventh, and then just lead into them just a half step below. So like this. Right? And that already gives us practically that symmetric dominant scale with the exception of one note. And that is a lead note that leads down to the root. So that one's here. So that's the flat 9. So we got flat 9 to root. So then it looks like this. So we got flat 9 to root, and then now what I like about this approach is that you still see the dominant chord or the dominant arpeggio and you have a clear distinction of what are those chord tones and what are your color tones. So quickly, the sound that we're imposing over that chord is this. So it's sort of a 13 flat 9 sound, or a flat 9 sharp 11, right? And that resolves really nicely to that C9, right? So, or now, so if you're not really at home in intervals and such and chords, then this lesson might be a little bit too advanced for you in terms of the theory of it. So you can always sort of skip those parts. But I just want to quickly point out what the colors are. So we have our root, third, fifth, minor seventh root, and the colors are flat 9, which goes to root, sharp 9, which goes to the third, sharp 11, which goes to the fifth, and then we have our 13, which sort of resolves to your minor seventh. So like this. Now the great thing is that what we're playing now, even this little already works really well to go from that G7 to your C7 chord. So let me play that for you. So it really has that leading function. The reason for that is because so when you play G7 to C7, the third of G7 already resolves to the seventh of C7. The minor 7 already resolves to the major third of C7, right? So you got these two going to, and both are a half step above, right? So, but normally all the others are a whole step. Now, when we play this scale, the symmetric scale, we have 2 more notes that have that half step leading function. So that would be the flat 9, which leads down to the fifth, right? And we have the sharp 11, which you could sort of, what I hear, sort of resolve up to the 9 of C7. Or you could hear it resolve down to the root, right? Now the great thing is that this diminished trick, right, or symmetric dominant trick, is you don't only use it over G7, but you can also use it over C7 going back to G. So what you would do there is you play C7 symmetric dominant, and that works like this. So let me play the first part of that blues, and then I'll lead from the C7 to the G7 with that dominant. So what I did is sort of do the same thing. So when we have that C7 dominant arpeggio, so that's root, third, fifth, seventh, root, third, fifth, seventh. And because I know the arpeggio and I know where my lead notes to those arpeggio notes are, it's for me very easy to just immediately see that scale. So it's and then in the end here, I resolve that C7, the seventh, up to the third of G. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Check my Patreon page. More and more people are signing up, and it really makes a difference. The tablature for this lesson is going to be up there with a little bit of theoretic information as well. And until the next lesson, see ya.